Most people go to church because they agree with the sermons and want to worship God. Though these are perfectly valid reasons to attend, there's a surprising and more scientific reason why one might want to become a churchgoer. Research shows that regular participation in a religious community is clearly linked with higher levels of happiness. More than 1/3 of actively religious U.S. adults, or 36%, describe themselves as very happy, compared with just 1/4 of both inactive and unaffiliated Americans. Across 25 other countries for which data are available, active churchgoers report being happier than the unaffiliated by a statistically significant margin. This could be due to many factors, not the least of which is being surrounded by a like-minded and supportive social circle. In today's society, we're growing further and further from people we actually know and closer to ones we see on screen, which is a problem, a big one. Knowing those around us well enough to trust them and predict their movements is a foot on which a stable society stands. Without it, we're lost to the bitter chaos of unpredictability, which leads inevitably to all kinds of danger. It's easy to see then that a good social circle can really give a person a healthy environment in which to grow and be pushed towards who they'd like to be. Interestingly, the benefits of going to church regularly go beyond happiness. When only looking at religious variables, churchgoers who attend more than weekly show a 57% lower hazard of mortality compared to those who never attend. Research that examines the association between religion and mortality points to religious service participation as the key aspect of religion that promotes longevity. Humans are social animals with a profound need to connect with others and gain acceptance into social groups. To fulfill these needs, humans rely on social emotions, empathy, and theory of mind. Being with other people and interacting with them in harmonious relationships are fundamental social behaviors, which lead to social connections. Social relationships do not only increase self-esteem, but also have a strong influence on both mental and physical health as well as longevity. For example, having poor social relationships is potentially more harmful than being obese, not exercising, or even drinking and smoking excessively. For many people, it can be difficult to find these meaningful relationships despite being involved at work and other task-based gatherings which don't allow for open and unrestrained conversation. Social groups like church, however, offer a safe place for open connection to develop into lasting relationships. Another often overlooked factor is one's will to live. Having something to look forward to, like weekly church with its activities and friendships, gives a lot of people the desire to keep going. There's also an extreme gift in giving. This seems backwards to our present-day consumer minds, but church functions like Samaritan's Purse gift giving, food banks, and other outreach ministries based on giving up what you have tend to be food for the soul. Taking a moment to look beyond ourselves into the eyes of the less well-off can relieve some of the burden of what it means to be us, and put things back into perspective. In the Comprehensive Handbook of Religion and Health, Duke University professor Harold G. Koenig and co-authors summarized 21st century findings from the rapidly expanding field of religion and health research. According to their analysis, religion is positively associated with life satisfaction, happiness, and morale in 78% of studies analyzed. Considering that depressed people tend to withdraw from big social groups in favor of a smaller, more trusted group of people, this data may suggest that societies with declining levels of religious engagement, like the U.S., could be at risk for declines in personal and social well-being because of a lack of positive contributions to society. For example, in the U.S., 58% of actively religious adults say they are also active in at least one other non-religious kind of voluntary organization, including charity groups, sports clubs, or labor unions. Only about half of all inactively religious adults, and fewer than half of the unaffiliated, say the same. And in general, the actively religious are more likely to vote. Despite all these examples that going to church is helpful for the body and mind, Christians like myself would insist that there's one more good reason to attend church, which is called the joy of the Lord. By that, we don't mean the hysterical laughter that might be heard at a Pentecostal church service, but something much more sound and solid. In fact, the joy of the Lord is a Christian strength. Unlike earthly joy, this joy isn't influenced by the things of the world or changing circumstances. It's based in truth, or the truth, who is Jesus Christ. We live on earth just like everybody else and encounter our fair share of tragedy, but these struggles are not without the completely overpowering "but God is with me" to follow. The Bible tells us that God is our refuge and help in time of need, who is always available. In essence, Christians are never alone in their struggle, which brings an immense amount of comfort and hope. Not to mention, always in the back of our minds is this happy expectation for things to come. We know that Christ is going to return for his church, which is made up of those who he calls his friends. He has prepared a place for us to live with him eternally, so that our innate desire for a relationship will be perfectly fulfilled by him. With this in mind, an earthly struggle like low income or even cancer doesn't look as bad, because at the very least, we are yet one day closer to seeing our Savior and best friend. While the data presented indicate that there are links between religious activity and certain measures of well-being in many countries, the numbers do not prove that going to religious services is directly responsible for improving people's lives. With so many variables, it's possible that there are other influencing factors. Church, for many, is thought of less as a safe place and more of a place of judgment and hurt, and not without cause. Many poor experiences, distasteful upbringings, and unpleasant encounters have happened within the church and by Christian people simply because they're people. Each individual is unique in good and bad ways, so despite this data supporting a good-natured majority, it's no surprise that unhappy people also attend services. Their melancholy spreads to whoever they're around, and it really doesn't speak to the unity and happiness within the church. However unpleasant some individuals may be, one must realize that these individuals don't accurately represent the heart of the church, and they certainly don't accurately represent the heart of Christ. He wishes to call each of us by name, to know us for who we truly are, and to bring us to himself as friends closer than a brother. Whether or not you believe in Jesus or God in general, you might consider going to church simply to be around a group of people who are living for something bigger than themselves and trying in their own way to make the world a better place. From the looks of it, being regularly involved in church is good for our mental health, happiness, and longevity, which each of us could use some help with. So I wonder, what are you doing this Sunday?